This video is brought to you by Ground News. On Monday, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer set out a long-awaited government white paper on immigration, pledging to take back control and get net migration falling significantly. As well as doubling the length of time required for settlement applications, the government is also introducing a range of other measures, including limiting employers' ability to hire foreign workers, increasing the threshold for skilled workers, and raising English language requirements for visa holders. Now, immigration is currently the second most important issue to the public, and one they think the government isn't handling well. To put it bluntly, most people, including 2024 Labour voters, think that immigration has been too high for the past 10 years. It comes as the right-wing political upstart Reform UK, who have made reducing immigration one of their core promises, continuing to see their support rising, with them doing remarkably well at the local elections earlier this month, adding pressure to Starmer's government. So, in this video, we're going to explain the context behind the changes, what the government is planning to do, and whether it will actually work. After 14 long years out of power, how's Starmer doing at the helm of the UK? Well, it's a mixed bag. So check out our analysis of Labour's leader, their foreign policy and economic issues in our magazine Too Long. Read more by clicking the link in the description. Now, before we get to the detail, we should provide some background. The first thing to clarify is that Labour's immigration white paper, which is not a bill but rather a statement of intent from the government, is aimed at limiting migration via legal routes, such as through work and study visas, rather than tackling illegal migration across the Channel. The number of migrants in the UK on work visas has increased since 2021, largely due to a surge in health and care worker visas, and those granted to their dependents. Between December 2021 and December 2023, the number of health and care worker visas granted soared from 31,800 to 145,823, largely due to the government's expansion of the visa route in February 2022, amid concerns of a weakening social care workforce. This number then fell from the end of 2023 to return to pre-2022 levels. Simultaneously, there was a rise in the number of work-related dependent visas granted, which allows family members to join their relatives in the UK, with 62% of all work dependents in the past 3 years being on the health and care worker visa. Health and care workers also tend to bring more people with them. In 2024, there was an average of 3 dependents per applicant on the health and care worker visa, while there was an average of 1 dependent per applicant for skilled worker visas. The other important context is that, in the past few years, public concern over immigration has risen. We can see this by looking at the share of people citing immigration as a top issue in Ipsos's monthly poll. This graph by Oxford University's Migration Observatory, published in January, shows that since April 2022, from a low of just 6%, the share citing immigration as a top issue has climbed steadily, peaking at 38% in October 2024, the highest since 2016, the year of the Brexit referendum. More specifically, YouGov's tracker on whether the UK should allow visa holders' dependents to join them also shows that a steadily rising share of the population think the UK should allow less of this group, with the steepest rises among Labour and Lib Dem voters. So, seemingly to prove that Labour can rise to the challenge of curbing immigration, on Monday morning, Starmer set out his plans to shake up the immigration system in a new government white paper. There were 2 headline changes aimed at bringing immigration down. The first requires migrants to live in the UK for a decade before they can apply for citizenship, whilst also expanding the points-based system. Under the current rules, migrants who have lived in the UK for 5 years are eligible to apply for citizenship. As immigration has risen significantly in the past 5 years, more and more people will soon be eligible to apply and gain citizenship. The government argues that under the current rules, citizenship is becoming more of a right than a privilege, and they want to try to change the rules to try and redress this balance. They're proposing to double this to 10 years, with exceptions only for migrants who make a real and lasting contribution to the economy and society. To determine this, they're proposing to expand the current points-based system, which takes into account things like salary and qualifications. The government has indicated that nurses, doctors, engineers and AI leaders could all be eligible for exceptions, and would be fast-tracked to citizenship. The second change extends the requirement for migrants to speak English. As things stand, not all immigration routes require an individual to prove their grasp of the English language. For example, adult dependents of visa holders don't currently need to. According to the UK government, while people who come to the UK are likely to have a better standard of English than average for their country, 51% of dependent visas are from countries with an overall low proficiency in English. The government's aim here is to ensure that those who come to the UK can integrate into life in the UK and are able to improve their employment prospects, make good use of local services, become part of community life, and contribute to society. So, these are the main changes. But are they actually going to bring migration down? Despite Starmer, like many prime ministers before him, promising in the press briefing that migration will fall, he's refused to provide any timelines or specific targets. When asked whether the changes will mean that migration falls every year, Starmer simply replied, "I'm promising it will fall significantly." It's not clear exactly what he means by this, and it'll be very tricky to measure whether the government is actually successful. This is why the Conservatives, in response to the government's plans, suggested that there should be a realistic cap on immigration numbers. Irrespective of this, though, the government claims that their changes will cut around 50,000 low-skilled workers and care workers coming to the UK. While this looks like a big number, it's debatable about exactly how significant this is. The Tories argue that if Labour had stuck with the former government's plans, this figure would be closer to 400,000, although net migration actually went up when they were in office. The government has also been criticised for the potential impact of the changes on the already stretched care system. Scotland's Deputy First Minister, Kate Forbes, said there is no doubt that the care system will suffer. Labour backbencher Zara Sultana has described the changes as dehumanising and divisive, and the Care for Calais charity has said that some of the language Starmer has used is dangerous and shameful. Ultimately, the question that the government will need to answer is exactly how far they want to go on immigration. Don't go far enough, and they'll be criticised for not taking the issue of immigration seriously. Go too far, and they'll lose support from the left, particularly their backbenchers. Only time will tell whether Starmer can walk this line effectively. Now, this is a complex and nuanced story, and as such, there's plenty more to read about this online, with 112 sources reporting on it. The issue is, how can you be sure that what you're reading isn't hugely biased? Well, that's a problem we face when making these videos too. And luckily, that's where this week's sponsor, Ground News, comes in. For this story in particular, they've identified that there are at least 18 left-leaning and 12 right-leaning sources reporting on it. In addition to this, they've also shown the main differences in headlines among left-leaning and right-leaning outlets, with left-leaning outlets framing the issue as being cruel, whereas right-leaning outlets focus on past policies and why they were a failure. We're able to do that because of our sponsor, Ground News, whose incredible website and app lets you discover the news and pulls back the curtain on media bias. That's because every story comes with a quick visual breakdown of the political bias, factuality, and ownership of the source's reporting, all backed by ratings from 3 independent news monitoring organisations. But one of the best parts of the app is their blind spot feed. It presents you with stories and articles that haven't been reported on by one side of the aisle or the other, helping you better break out of your media bubble and discover what those on the other side of the political spectrum are really saying. This is all in addition to the biased distribution we mentioned earlier, and together these fantastic features help you to figure out exactly who's behind the stories you're reading and what agenda they may have. Ground News is such a useful tool for our current media landscape, and I think an app like this will only become more essential as the media landscape continues to evolve. If you're interested in everything that Ground News has to offer, you can get 40% off the Unlimited Access Vantage plan using the link in the description or by scanning the QR code. This offer is only available here, so make sure you go to ground.news/TLDR or click the link in the description to get started and support an independent news platform working to make the media landscape more transparent.